Captain Jake Voss stood stiffly on the polished podium, his chest adorned with medals that gleamed under the stark lights illuminating the grand hall. His fellow officers surrounded him, pride plastered on their faces. The audience swelled with anticipation, eager to hear the accolades bestowed upon the hero of humanity's latest conflict against the Zarki aliens. "Captain Voss," boomed General Patterson, his voice resonating through the crowded room, "you are hereby recognized for your remarkable leadership and bravery in our recent skirmish. Your tactics led to a decisive victory against the Zarki, bringing peace to our beloved Earth." Jake forced a smile, feeling the weight of the medals around his neck. Alongside him stood Lieutenant Maria Torres, her curly hair bouncing as she clapped enthusiastically. "You did it, Jake. You deserve all of this." "Thanks, Maria," he replied, but his voice lacked the enthusiasm he wanted to convey. He could see the glint of admiration in her eyes, but it meant little to him in this moment. As Patterson continued to drone on about the technical details of the conflict, Jake's gaze drifted across the sea of faces in the crowd. Amidst the applause and heartfelt speeches, his eyes fell upon a figure standing near the back, a Zarki ambassador named Lyra. She exuded a striking aura with her azure skin and luminescent green eyes. They had met during a tense negotiation where fear and misunderstanding had danced dangerously close to outright hostility. "Jake," Maria nudged him, pulling him from his reverie. "You're going to miss your award." "Yeah, right," he murmured, not really hearing her. He was caught in a memory of their first encounter. Lyra's curious expressions, her meticulous mannerisms, they had sparked an unexpected fascination within him, despite the battles fought between their civilizations. "Captain, your medal," General Patterson commanded, lifting the gleaming insignia into the air with a flourish. Jake straightened, returning from his thoughts. The crowd erupted in applause, and for a brief moment he felt the adoration wash over him. But as the general draped the medal around his neck, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of discontent threading through his veins. What had he truly accomplished? A victory celebrated with medals, yet Lyra's presence loomed in his mind, a reminder of the cost of war. As Patterson's speech droned on, Jake's heart went cold. "I don't want this," he whispered to Maria. "Don't say that. You fought for it. You deserve recognition," she responded, furrowing her brow. "Recognition for killing? I didn't sign up for this." Amidst the crowd, Lyra's emerald gaze met his once again, and he felt the swell of emotions cascade over him. How could he celebrate when she stood there, an emblem of a struggle he no longer believed in? "General," Jake interrupted, stepping forward. The audience hushed, surprise rippling through the attendees. "Captain?" Patterson looked bemused as he peered at Jake, the gravity of the moment shifting awkwardly. "I appreciate the honor, but I can't accept this medal." Jake's voice echoed in the now silent hall. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Maria's eyes widened, bewildered. "What are you doing?" "I refuse to accept glory for warfare. There's so much more at stake than just battles. We need to find a way to understand each other." "Captain, your bravery, it deserves recognition," Patterson said, struggling to regain control of the situation. "Does it?" Jake challenged, locking eyes with the general. "What good is this when just beyond this hall we have an alien race that wants peace? I have seen what their people can offer. I couldn't participate in their destruction without thinking of Lyra and what we could build instead." The audience murmured in disbelief. Jake's heart raced, unsure if this would be heroism or madness in the eyes of his peers. "Captain Voss." Lyra's voice sliced through the tension as she stepped forward, her elegance captivating the crowd. "I thank you. I didn't expect to hear such words from someone of your status." "Lyra," he said, relief flooding him. "I didn't want to accept an unfair symbol of war when there is so much potential for change." "Change?" General Patterson interjected, skepticism seeping from his voice. "These are ambitious sentiments, Captain. We just reached a victory." "Hollow victories lead nowhere," Jake replied, firm in his resolve. "Isn't it time we look past medals and accolades? Isn't it time we started to build connections?" The hall echoed with silence, the weight of Jake's words sinking in. Maria stepped toward him, obviously conflicted. "Are you really serious about this?" "I am." "Then let's take the fight to them, the ones who want war," she urged passionately. "No more fighting, Maria." Jake responded, his voice steady. "I've seen enough blood on both sides. Maybe together we can take a step towards something greater." "Together?" Lyra echoed, her eyes reflecting hope, uncertainty, and something deeper. For a moment, the entire assembly felt suspended in time, caught between tradition and revolution. "Yes, together," Jake affirmed, glancing back at Lyra, willing her to understand his heart. With a renewed sense of purpose, he stepped toward Lyra, extending his hand, an invitation not just to her, but to the entire assembly. "Let's bridge this division. We may come from different worlds, but we share the same sky. Slowly but surely, Lyra approached, taking his hand. The crowd watched, a blend of disbelief and awe washing over them. Let's not be defined by our past, Lyra said softly, her voice steady yet warm. Let's mold our future. Captivated, Jake nodded. The applause began again, but this time it felt different, thunderous and hopeful, echoing around the hall like a promise. The cameras flashed, capturing the moment as crowds rose from their seats. And in that moment, as Jake held onto Lyra's hand, he realized this was the victory worth celebrating. A victory not measured in medals but in each other. Chapter 2, Bridging Worlds. Jake stood in the ambassadorial residence, the luxurious decor a stark contrast to the grit of the battlefield. The room was filled with artifacts from the Zarki homeworld, intricate carvings that seemed to whisper tales of their ancient history. Yet it felt oddly welcoming, blending human designs with exquisite alien craftsmanship. Lyra entered, her shimmering blue skin glowing softly in the ambient light. You seem lost in thought, Captain. Her playful smirk tugged at the corners of her lips, a mix of curiosity and mischief. Jake turned, unable to suppress a smile. Just taking it all in. Your people have an incredible culture. Thank you, she said, crossing the room to join him near a large window, the view framed by a cerulean sky streaked with deep purple clouds, an alien sunset that mesmerized him. We cherish our history. Every carving tells a story, and each story is a part of who we are. He nodded, captivated as she pointed to a carving of a great serpent-like creature. What's this one about? It's a symbol of unity among our people, Lyra explained. In our past, we faced many challengers, but we survived by coming together and sharing our strengths. Much like what I tried to express to the council, Jake said, his voice filled with determination. I want to work to unite our worlds like that, not just conquer. Lyra's expression softened, her eyes sparkling. You have a unique way of thinking, Captain. Not many would risk their reputation to build a bridge instead of a wall. And not many would think to befriend their captors, Jake replied, recalling their first encounter. It took some serious courage to meet me. She tilted her head, a teasing light in her eyes. Or stupidity. Jake chuckled. I'd say it took a mix of both. He paused, then asked, so what happens now? How do we turn words into action? Lyra considered his question, fidgeting slightly. To begin, we need to talk about our peoples. Many on both sides are wary of what they don't understand. Fear often breeds contempt, and we must show them that there's another way. True, he replied, walking toward a display of glowing Zarki crystals. How do we start? Let's hold a cultural exchange. A day where we can showcase both human and Zarki traditions. Jake raised an eyebrow. You mean like an intergalactic fair? Exactly. Lyra grinned, her enthusiasm infectious. We can mix our music, art, food, anything. It could show our people that we can share joy rather than conflict. I like that idea, Jake said, feeling a surge of excitement. But we have to make sure our leaders think it's a good idea first. The council won't go for it without a solid plan. We can set the groundwork here, Lyra suggested as they moved toward a central table laid out with various designs and materials from both worlds. Together, we can create a presentation that highlights our strengths. If we make it compelling enough, they'll listen. Let's do it, Jake said, determination filling his voice. What do you need from me? First, we'll need to outline the key points we want to showcase. I'll share our Zarki values so you can understand what resonates with our people and you can tell me what there is to embrace from Earth. Sounds fair, he agreed, pulling a notepad from his coat pocket. Let's brainstorm. Lyra's eyes lit up and she began pacing as ideas flowed. Zarki value harmony above all. We believe in the beauty of connection even in differences. What about your people? What drives humans? Jake nodded thoughtfully. We often value courage and innovation. We've faced adversity and have continuously adapted to overcome challenges. See? We already have a common thread, she said excitedly. Perhaps we can frame it as unity through differences. I like it, he said, writing it down. But how do we convey that? Lyra pondered for a moment. What about pairing performances? A dance from Earth could share a story while a Zarki artwork represents the same theme visually. That could work, he mused. We can show that despite our different approaches, the emotions are universal. As they fleshed out ideas, the atmosphere shifted, the work flowing smoothly between them. Each suggestion sparked enthusiasm, laughter punctuating the discussions. Okay, what about food? Jake asked, scribbling notes. What can we offer? Food is essential in any cultural gathering, Lyra agreed, clapping her hands together. I can prepare Zarki delicacies that we generally serve on special occasions. Have you ever had Orcs stew? Can't say I have, he said, intrigued. What's in it? It's made from a root vegetable native to our planet and spiced with herbs from our forests. It's savory and, how do you put it? She paused, searching for the words. It's like a warm hug in a bowl. Jake laughed. That sounds incredible. I can bring over some traditional dishes too, maybe barbecue. It's a big part of our culture. Barbecue. She scrunched her nose, clearly confused. Well, it's where we grill meat over an open flame, seasoned in different ways. The atmosphere is always festive, filled with laughter and good company. Her eyes shone with interest. I'd love to experience that. They continued to bounce ideas back and forth, exchanging stories and laughter as they crafted their vision for the event. Hours passed unnoticed, lost in the brainstorming magic that seemed to transform the walls around them. Eventually, Lyra stopped, resting her hands on the table. I think we have a solid foundation. We should rest and prepare for the meeting with the council tomorrow. Agreed, Jake said, trying to conceal his own reluctance. The thought of parting felt unjust, their synergy still buzzing in the air. I'm looking forward to it, but, she prompted. I'm just enjoying this. I didn't think a partnership with you would feel so natural, he admitted, the words spilling out in a flurry. Lyra's gaze softened. Neither did I, but it is nice, isn't it? Connecting over our cultures, rather than the divide between them. Definitely. Shall we meet again tomorrow morning? She asked, her tone light yet hopeful. Of course. Let's make sure the council understands the importance of what we're proposing. Together, Lyra affirmed, a spark in her eyes. As they headed toward the door, Jake felt a sense of anticipation blooming within him. This was more than a cultural fair. It was a chance to redefine perspectives, to unearth the common ground humanity and the Zarki could occupy. Good night, Captain, Lyra said softly, her eyes lingering on him for a moment longer than necessary. Good night, Lyra, he replied, his heart racing slightly. As she stepped out into the fading light, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were embarking on an adventure unlike any other. One filled not just with challenges, but with possibility. Chapter 3, Confessions of the Heart. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a rich tapestry of colors across the sky. Jake stood in front of the ambassadorial residence, waiting for Lyra. A myriad of thoughts swirled in his mind. The preparations for the cultural exchange were coming together, but so were his feelings for the Zarki ambassador. When a soft voice called out, Captain Voss, he turned to see Lyra approaching, her graceful figure bathed in twilight. She wore a flowing gown that shifted colors from deep blue to emerald, matching the soft luminescence of her skin. Ready for today? She asked, a friendly smile breaking across her face. Absolutely, he replied, unable to contain his excitement. I went over the final details with the council this morning. They're on board with us showcasing the Zarki way of life, but we need to give them more specifics. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Such as performance times, menu items, the kind of music we want to share, he explained, stepping closer. Her presence always gave him a rush. We need to make this feel like a true celebration. Let's go over it together then, she suggested, gesturing him to follow her inside. The residence was filled with the aroma of spices and strange, sweet herbs. Felt alive. Wow, Jake said, glancing around. It smells amazing in here. Thank you. I've been trying a few new recipes for the event, Lyra said, her eyes beaming with pride. I hope the humans enjoy them. I'm sure they will. Who could resist something that looks and smells that good? Jake chuckled. So, what do we have planned for entertainment? Lyra led him into a spacious room where the walls were adorned with Zarki art. We'll open with a traditional Zarki dance. It tells a story of unity and life cycles. Sounds captivating, Jake said, picturing it in his mind. And then we can introduce some human performance. I mentioned a band that usually plays at our community events. Music from Earth would bring an interesting blend. What kind of songs do they play? Mostly upbeat tunes. Songs about love, friendship, and stories of our lives. I think it could mesh well with your dance. Lyra beamed. That could work beautifully. Together, we can weave a narrative that combines our worlds. Jake leaned against a nearby table, flipping through a notebook filled with their creative ideas. And your orks do? You said it's a warm hug in a bowl, right? He chuckled at the wording as he recalled their previous conversation. Yes, it is. You have to try it the right way with fresh bread from our territory as a side. It's the perfect pairing. She clapped her hands excitedly. And of course, I'd love for you to bring your barbecue as well. Definitely. I have several different marinades that I can prepare. We usually include sides like coleslaw or corn on the cob. Corn. Lyra mimicked the word, a quizzical smile on her face. Sounds interesting. Is it sweet? Very. Jake laughed. But let's focus on one dish at a time. We'll blow their minds with the flavors. Agreed. She grinned and offered her hand playfully. Shake on it. Jake laughed and extended his hand for a playful shake. Instead of releasing, she held on just a moment longer than necessary, their eyes locking in a meaningful gaze. Lyra, can I ask you something? He ventured, breaking the comfortable silence that lingered. Of course, she replied, her voice steady. What does unity mean to you? It was a simple question, but he felt the weight of it. In all this planning, we're focused on blending our cultures, but what does that actually look like in practice? Lyra paused, her expression contemplative. Unity is not just about sharing food or music. It's about understanding each other's fears, joys, and values. Each world has its struggles, its beauty. Learning means accepting that we are different yet similar. It's embracing both the light and the dark. Jake nodded, seeing an unexpected depth in her words. That's a profound way to look at it. For us, unity usually means rallying against a common enemy, real or imagined. She tilted her head, intrigued. So, how do you build unity outside of that framework? Honestly, he sighed. I guess we haven't really figured out how to do that yet. We've always just focused on the fight instead of fostering relationships. Then this event must be a new beginning, Lyra said softly, her eyes glimmering with sincerity. We can show them a different way to connect without walls between us. The intimacy in her words made his heart race. Jake cleared his throat, trying to steer the conversation. So, we can lead by example. Imagine the impact we could have if we pull this off correctly. Yes. Exactly, she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. But first, we must ensure our leaders see the value. Jake stepped closer, curiosity overtaking him. Lyra, can I be honest? I think our leaders will be more reluctant than excited about this. They're used to seeing things in black and white, enemy or ally. What do you suggest? She asked, concern creasing her brow. If you and I can approach them together, it might make a difference. A united front. We can emphasize how this event is for our future, not just our past. We show them the potential if we work together. She nodded slowly, contemplating the proposition. It makes sense. Walking into the council chambers as partners might open their eyes to possibilities. Exactly. We'll have to prepare for pushback from some. Can you handle the hard questions they might throw at you? He inquired playfully, though he meant it. Yes, she declared with a light laugh. What kind of questions? Things like, why should we trust humans? Or what do you think you'll gain from this? I will stand my ground. I've faced such inquiries before, she replied confidently. I've walked into hostile meetings to advocate for peace. Together, we'll be formidable. Good. We'll be ready, Jake agreed, his excitement surging at the thought. Lyra smiled, her demeanor shifting from playful to serious. Jake, I genuinely appreciate everything you've done to support this. It means a lot. I'm just doing what I believe is right, he replied, the sincerity evident in his voice. And honestly, working with you is one of the best parts of this journey. Their eyes met again, lingering. Jake, Lyra began, a tone of vulnerability threading through her voice. I've never met anyone quite like you. You challenge me to think differently, and I value that. He too. They both felt. Let's handle them one meeting at a time. Agreed. Together, he said, taking her hand once more. Let's change the narrative. As they shared a small smile, Jake felt something heavier than friendship brewing between them. The night enveloped them, and the air shifted, carrying an unspoken promise. Ready to tackle this event and the council? She asked, breaking his train of thought. Always. I believe in us, he replied, feeling invigorated by her presence. Good. Then let's get some rest. There's a lot of work ahead, Lyra proposed, her eyes bright with determination. Absolutely. I'll see you early tomorrow, partner, Jake said, reluctant to let go of her hand. Good night, Captain, she said warmly, stepping back into the night. As he watched her leave, Jake felt a new surge of hope. They were on the cusp of something transformative, crafted by not just unity but by a growing connection that felt more potent than either had anticipated. Chapter 4, Torn Loyalties. The grand hall filled with hushed chatter as Jake paced nervously, waiting for the council meeting to begin. The ornate decorations seemed to mock his anxiety, glittering as they hung from the high ceilings. Today was crucial. The cultural exchange rested on the council's approval, and the weight of two worlds felt heavier than ever. Looking a bit anxious there, Captain, Maria teased as she approached, her hands tucked into her uniform pockets. Jake turned to her with a forced smile. Just trying to figure out how to convince them this matters. They'll see the value, she assured him. You've earned their respect. Besides, you have Lyra at your side. She's got charisma for miles. True, he said, but doubt lingered at the edges of his mind. But there are still those who believe collaboration with the Zarki is a betrayal. Let them grumble, she replied, crossing her arms. We need to look forward, not backward. The past can't dictate our future. Remember the good you and Lyra are trying to create. Yeah, I get that. But some council members will only see the chance to criticize, Jake murmured. Maria leaned in, her voice lower. Just keep your focus and speak from the heart. They can't deny authentic passion. As if summoned by his thoughts, Lyra entered the hall, her presence calming the chaos in his mind. She wore a flowing gown adorned with shimmering patterns, each movement casting delicate reflections across the walls. Jake, she called, her voice a soft melody that broke through the noise. Lyra, you look incredible, he responded, feeling a surge of pride and admiration. Thank you, she replied, a gentle smile gracing her lips. I wanted to present my people well today. You're doing that effortlessly already, he said, stepping closer. Are you both ready? She asked, glancing between him and Maria. Ready as we can be, Jake answered, straightening his posture. Let's make sure we all stay aligned through this. Exactly, Lyra agreed, her eyes bright with determination. We represent the potential of our two worlds. Just then, General Patterson entered the hall and the room quieted. Thank you for gathering here today. We're about to discuss a proposal for a cultural exchange with the Zarki people. Jake exchanged a nervous glance with Lyra, who took a deep breath beside him. Lieutenant Voss and Ambassador Lyra will present their ideas, Patterson continued. Let's hear what they have in mind. Here goes nothing, Jake whispered, stepping forward. Thank you, General. Members of the Council, today we stand at an opportunity to reshape our future. As Jake spoke, Lyra stood confidently beside him, nodding in agreement when he emphasized the importance of connection through understanding. He outlined their plans for the cultural exchange, highlighting the performances, food, and shared experiences. But we must acknowledge that trust is fragile, he added, glancing at the council members with intensity. Many will oppose this, fearing what they do not understand. One of the council members, Elder Kale, leaned forward, his expression skeptical. Why should we extend our hospitality to those who have plotted against us in the past? Because, Lyra interjected boldly, it's in our best interest to find common ground instead of perpetuating a cycle of animosity. We've suffered from fear-based decisions for too long. Right now, many in your ranks will exploit any form of weakness to advance their desires, Kale countered, lifting his chin in defiance. How can we trust the Zarki aren't rallying their supporters against us even now? Trust is built through action, not just words, Jake said, keeping his tone steady. This is our chance to show both our peoples that collaboration can lead to stronger alliances. We won't let fear dictate our course any longer. Another council member, a younger woman named Celine, spoke up. But what if it backfires? What if this event stirs animosity instead of building bridges? Lyra smiled warmly, exuding confidence. It's a risk worth taking. Together, we will ensure it proceeds peacefully, demonstrating our culture's strengths. We must take this leap if we want to foster real change. The council murmured, some members nodding in agreement while others remained skeptical. The atmosphere shifted as tensions danced around the room. Jake took a breath, trying to rally the support he felt slipping. We can create a safe space for dialogue. Knowing each other's stories can disarm prejudices rooted in fear. Witnessing our ways of life might just change hearts and minds. General Patterson stepped forward, his voice firm. It's a bold explanation. But boldness can lead to chaos if not managed wisely. We will not jeopardize Earth's security by hosting an open event. At that moment, the room grew heavy with uncertainty. Jake felt the opposition closing in. With proper oversight and collaboration from both sides, we can ensure security while prioritizing community. Will you take responsibility if anything goes wrong? Kale demanded. Yes, Jake asserted, his voice resolute. I understand the risks and I will stand by our plan's execution. Then that leaves us with one question, Celine said, her brow furrowed. What if this backfires? What if your people refuse to embrace our culture? Jake met her gaze, feeling the weight of her doubt. We adapt and learn. That's what makes us human. Lyra's eyes sparkled with determination and she added, and together we can create a safety net, not just for us but for those who come after. Let this be our starting point. Listen here, General Patterson interjected, his expression solid. We respect your convictions, but the council needs more commitment to move forward. Jake felt the pressure surging. We'll advance our preparations while you assess the situation. I can provide progress reports. We'll demonstrate our dedication every step of the way. The council members exchanged glances, and for a moment the air felt charged with possibility. Then we will offer you a trial period. Kale's voice broke the silence, cautious but curious. We will observe your preparations. If the council remains convinced, the event will proceed. A wave of relief washed over Jake, but the council's terms still hung heavy with potential complications. Thank you for considering our proposal. Together, we'll prove the value of this venture. Once the council meeting concluded, Jake stepped away from the council's scrutiny, relief mixing with exhaustion. We did it, he murmured, glancing over at Lyra. Yes, she replied, her expression tinged with uncertainty. But there's still so much left to navigate. True. But at least we have them on board for now, he said, feeling the embers of determination reignite. We need to get started right away, Lyra said, her voice resolute. There's no time to waste. Let's meet later to discuss the details of our commitments. Absolutely, Jake replied, glancing around as officials drifted through the hall. I'll see you soon, partner. As she walked away, Jake felt the familiar stir of emotions. They were embarking on something bigger than themselves, and the challenges they faced together would only reinforce the bond forming between them. Hey, Captain. Maria called, appearing by his side. How did it go? Better than I expected, he admitted, his heart still racing from the meeting. Glad to hear it. Now, about that barbecue, she said, grinning. Let's get it sorted. Jake replied, already turning his focus to the tasks ahead. There was a world to transform and they were just getting started. Chapter 5, A New Dawn. The sun rose over the shared landscape of Earth and Zarki, painting the sky in soft pastels as the day of the cultural exchange arrived. Jake stood at the edge of the event site, glancing around at the bustle of activity. Tents had been erected, adorned with both human and Zarki symbols. He could feel a mix of anticipation and anxiety swirling in the air. Ready for this? Maria asked as she approached, carrying a clipboard filled with their endless list of tasks. More or less, Jake said, running a hand through his hair. It feels surreal. I can't believe it's all come together. Maria scanned the surroundings. It looks fantastic. The council approved the setup and the energy is electric. Everyone's buzzing with excitement. Just then, a figure emerged from the crowd, Lyra, her vibrant gown swaying elegantly with each step. She smiled brightly as she reached Jake. Captain, what do you think? It looks incredible, Lyra, he replied, feeling a rush of enthusiasm. You've made the space beautiful. Together we have, she said, her eyes sparkling with infectious energy. The Zarki guests are already arriving. Let's make sure everything is in place before we start welcoming them, Jake said, scanning the venue. He turned to Maria. What's next on the list? We need to finalize the food station and check in with the performance teams, Maria replied, her voice brisk. And let's not forget, she glanced at Lyra. You'll be leading the dance-off. Of course. Lyra nodded enthusiastically. I can't wait to show everyone our traditions. It's essential they understand our culture through movement. Just remember, you have to save some time for the barbecue. Jake chuckled. My people might riot if we don't have a solid feast. Barbecue will be splendid. I've practiced the korak stew recipe just for you, she teased, winking at him. Jake grinned. I'm ready for the challenge of trying it. As they divided up their tasks, Jake felt a growing confidence. The atmosphere buzzed with hope and possibility, a stark contrast to the days filled with tension and hesitation. A few hours later, Jake stood by the food station, monitoring the sizzling grills. He flipped burgers as the savory scents wafted through the air. This is coming together nicely, he called to Maria, who was checking the layout of the seating area. Agreed. Everything looks great, Maria responded, glancing over at the Zarki guests arriving in clusters. Their vibrant appearances filled the space with a sense of lively diversity. Jake. Lyra's voice broke through and he turned to see her flanked by a group of Zarki, all dressed in colorful garments that glimmered under the sun. These are our cultural leaders and performers. Hello? Jake waved, trying to keep his excitement in check. Welcome to our event. Please make yourselves comfortable. "Thank you, Captain Voss," one of the Zarki leaders replied, his voice deep and mellow. "We appreciate the effort you have made to open this dialogue." "Only the beginning," Jake said, feeling the weight of their trust. "We're eager to share what we can offer and learn from you as well." "Unity is achieved through understanding and respect," the leader replied, his eyes scanning the preparations. "We are looking forward to sharing in this experience." As the gathering began, Jake stepped away from the grill, watching as humans and Zarki mingled, tentatively at first, as they bridged the gap between their cultures. Lyra began to lead a small dance performance, graceful and fluid, demonstrating the Zarki's expressive movement. "Look at her," Maria remarked, her voice tinged with admiration. "She's captivating everyone." "Yup," Jake agreed, unable to take his eyes off Lyra. Her presence commanded attention. "I can't believe how far we've come." In the midst of joy and discovery, the atmosphere shifted slightly as a group of human skeptics appeared, casting dubious looks at their Zarki counterparts. Jake noticed them whispering amongst themselves, and concern pricked at him. Maria caught sight of Jake's change in demeanor. "Everything all right?" "Just the usual doubts," he replied, frowning slightly. "Some folks can't seem to let go of their prejudices. We have to keep the momentum going. If they see how much fun everyone else is having, it might just sway them," Maria encouraged. "Right," Jake said, determination flooding back. "Let's keep things moving." He approached the group, narrowing the distance. "Hey there. Enjoying the event?" One man, Mark, waved a dismissive hand. "It's all a show. They're probably just here to scout us." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, keeping his tone even. "Come on. They've been enemies. Now we think they'll suddenly embrace us with open arms?" Mark scoffed. "Actually, they're just as cautious as we are," Jake replied. "That's why this event is so important. We're here to disrupt those ingrained fears." One of the other men chimed in, "And how do you know they won't pull something during the festivities?" "It's a risk." Jake took a breath, grounding himself. "Because I trust in what we're building together. I've seen the potential for change firsthand. That's why Lyra is here leading this, not just performing." Mark's expression hardened, doubt lingering. "We're just setting ourselves up for failure. You're naive to think they'll just change like that." Before Jake could respond, he felt a presence beside him. Lyra stepped up, clearly having overheard the discussion. "I understand the concerns present," she said smoothly, her demeanor calm. "But trust can only be earned through action. Allow us to show you the beauty of who we are. Experience it firsthand." Jake watched as her words dissolved some of the tension hanging in the air. The skepticism in Mark's eyes softened momentarily. "You want to make peace?" "More than anything," Lyra said, her sincerity radiating warmth. "This gathering is about opening hearts and minds. We are not enemies, we are neighbors and potential allies." "Maybe," Mark conceded, rubbing the back of his neck. "But it's going to take time. It starts today," Jake added, "and will continue if we stay committed to this path. So let's enjoy what we have right now together." Mark shifted uncomfortably, glancing to the others. "Fine, I'll hang around. But I'm not holding my breath." "That's fair," Jake said, a small smile creeping onto his face. "Just keep an open mind. Try the food, dance a little, and you might be surprised." As the day unfolded, people mingled, laughter filled the air, and barriers began to fade away. Jake caught glimpses of Zarki and humans sharing stories over the barbecue, trying each other's specialties, and starting to bridge cultural divides. "Look at them," Maria said, bubbling with excitement. "They're connecting." "I think it's working," Jake replied, relief washing over him. "We're breaking down those initial walls." As the evening approached, lights blinked on, illuminating the grounds in a soft glow. Lyra gathered everyone to share further performances, and Jake felt pride wash over him at the way their worlds collided beautifully. After one of the dance routines, Jake found himself by Lyra's side. "You were amazing out there," he said, admiration evident in his voice. "Thank you. It's exhilarating to share my culture," she replied, her eyes sparkling with joy. "And everyone seems to be enjoying it." "They are," Jake agreed, but a flicker of concern remained. "We still have more work to do, especially with the skeptics." "Yes, but today is a step forward. A single step can lead to great change," Lyra said, her tone hopeful. "Let's keep taking those steps together, then," he replied, feeling a connection deepen. "Partners in this fight for unity." "Partners," she echoed, the word reflecting the bond they were fostering. As the night deepened, Jake took a moment to look around. They had opened a door to something new. Their hopes and dreams, so intertwined now, echoed in the laughter and music surrounding them. His heart swelled with the potential of what lay ahead, one step together at a time.